Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I welcome you to this workshop on personal effectiveness. I can assure you, when I underwent this workshop many years ago, I was not even aware that one day I would be standing here and taking or conducting the same workshop. I would tell you one thing here and now, that this is the single most important workshop that I have attended. It actually changed my personal life. It changed my personal life, it changed my professional life, and I made quick progress after having attended this. There is a reason why. We all assume that God has made us perfect and we come into this world and perform as managers. We are born with that. We are born with nothing except when we are born, we come out with a cry. That is all. Everything else has to be developed as far as management thought is concerned. You have to watch others perform, find the reasons why they are performing well, find the reasons why others are not performing well, and that is the only way to make progress. Becoming a great manager requires a great lot of effort. That is all that I have to say. Now, this workshop will be conducted over 2 days. And the speciality about this workshop is that it is not a one-way discourse. In fact, it is only now that I am talking. As we go along in this workshop, you will be talking more than me. In fact, I have realized that every time I take this workshop, I come out a much wiser man after that. Because you young minds are phenomenal. The kind of thoughts and ideas you bring, I have never ever seen an age group which is more innovative and more thoughtful than your age group. Because as you grow old, you start carrying mental baggages. And that is where the problem arises. You are fresh minds, you are experimenting with everything you come across, and that is why you make much quicker progress. Now, this workshop will be conducted by basically two methods. One is through discussion, second is through different activities, games, role plays, etc. The aim of this exercise is to explore as a group what are the management problems that we face on a day-to-day basis and how we can find tools and methods to overcome these difficulties. Now, what are the objectives of this workshop? The objective of this workshop, I shall just read this out. Throwing light on the attributes and attitudes that are required to be effective in your workplace. A sharp focus on improving the participants' business communications, to improve interpersonal skills and getting a better understanding of the different stakeholders and how to deal with them. Equip all participants with the knowledge, tools and techniques to enhance personal effectiveness, to answer questions which any one of you may have, and to resolve the problems which any of you would be facing in the workplace on a day-to-day basis. We will carry out extensive training by the way of conducting certain games to understand what are the problems, and then we will discuss how these problems can be overcome and what are the methods which have been used by any of you, and we will select the best that is available. Okay? Now, how will this change your life? Let us all admit it. Out of the 24 hours we have, most of us work at least 10 hours. The typical 8-hour duty doesn't work. That happens only in government. But in the public sector, we all end up working at least 10 hours. And along with that, travel, interaction. So you could almost say 12 hours of our lives goes in office and office related activity. And more importantly, even outside the 12 hours, a lot of our time goes in thinking about work in the office. It is very easy to see, leave your office behind. But that really doesn't happen. Does it happen to any of us? Even when we are with our families, we do think of our work. Because that is our bread and butter. We are living a life. We are not all workaholics. But then you cannot remove the thought of the most important activity in your life from your mind for the rest of the 12 hours. So ultimately what we would realize is that almost 3/4 of the time we are in some way associated with the workplace. And if that most important activity is conducted in the most efficient and the most effective manner, our success in life multiplies manyfold. And if you're an effective manager, what all do you gain? You gain promotions, you gain a better salary, you have more options in life, you may even end up having more time in life. And more importantly, you have a sense of achievement, a sense of success. And that completely changes your frame of mind and your thought process. Even during the bad patches I had in my career, I have realized that when you're demoralized at work, it affects your interaction with your family, with your wife, with your children. More often than not, my children have told me, "Papa, are you under stress? You're being very erratic in your behavior." This is a thing which has happened to me. And I'm sure some of it at least has been happening to you. The first thing which we would really address is what are the attitudes and the attributes that are required in a manager to be effective. We are now looking at only the psychological makeup of the person. All of you will agree with me that of the psychological makeup of a person or the attitude towards work or his behavior towards his colleagues makes a lot of difference as far as personal effectiveness is concerned. The first attribute to be successful in the workplace is the ball stops here or the buck stops here. The ball is in my court. What does that mean? That means is taking responsibility or ownership for a task that comes to your team. If you are the owner, for the good or bad of it, you are responsible. If something goes wrong, you are responsible. If things go well, you are credited with it as an achievement. So this ownership, this sense of ownership makes a huge difference in every activity that a manager goes through. If a person has taken complete ownership of, say, conducting an event like a workshop like this, he will ensure that right from the beginning, when the participants are coming in, the travel arrangements, everything is absolutely tied up. And somewhere down the line, he is also worried that, okay, if one of the participants writes a negative remark, my manager or my boss will not like it. And I will come down in his eyes by that much, 1 or 2 notches. So what does he do? He starts planning well in advance. He starts looking at what are the areas where there can be errors. He makes contingency plans to see, okay, if there is a roadblock or a traffic jam at Chakala, how do I get to MIDC? For that, he may even position vehicles at the railway station so that they can bring in these people through the Jogeshwari Vikhroli link. So that is the single most important attribute for a person to be successful in the world. The second is being result oriented. Being busy is of no consequence. You have to be result oriented. If a job has been assigned to you, after a week you cannot go and tell the boss, sir, I tried my best but this did not work out. A good boss would not really appreciate it. In fact, he would prefer a person who took his time and did not really panic or keep himself too busy, but used his head and organized and planned, and he was always at ease. He was not stressed out. He was not busy throughout. But at the end of the day, the workshop was conducted perfectly and the work was done. Result orientation. In fact, as we go through the habits of seven habits of highly effective people, which is one of the major components of this thing, we will realize one of the habits is begin with the end in mind. Okay, so with the end, if the end can be achieved, you are successful. Otherwise, you are not successful, period. The next most important activity is the locus of control. How much can you control? How much can you influence? And how much are you concerned about? The moment you start making that difference, you may be having the information of the whole company, but there is little you can do to change things. There are certain places where you are concerned.